Hello all, I'm Sai and you're watching The Book Dragon. In today's video, I'm bringing to you my answers for the 15 questions in the Midyear Book Freakout tag. So without any further ado, let's get into the questions. Question number 1. Best book you've read so far in 2020. For this question, I have 3 answers actually. 3 books which are all 5-star reads and all of them have been read by me during this period of quarantine. And I'll tell you what those 3 books are. The first one is Sita, Warrior of Mithila by Amish Tripathi. In this book, he has set the actual story of Sita in such a great way. The writing is so good, the character work is excellent, the pacing is good, the plot is excellent, and everything about this good is so good, guys. I also have a dedicated review for this book in my channel. I'll try to link it down in the description. Actually, the the reviews for all the 3 favorite books of mine in the first half of 2020, I have done dedicated reviews, and I'll try to link them all down in the description. The next book which I like the most, the other book which I like the most is The Mermaid and Mrs. Hancock by Imogen Hermes Gower. In this book, we get the story of a tradesman named Jonah Hancock and the story of a prostitute named Angelica, and how their lives come together. What this mermaid actually causes as a major difference in their lives. It is such a great story, guys. The writing is excellent in this one. The amount of research, the world building, the depiction of the setup in which the story takes place, it is so grand, and it is so rich. I'd suggest anyone who likes history to read this one because you will enjoy this a lot. And the next book that I'm saying as my favorite is actually the most favorite of all these 3, and it is This Is Going to Hurt by Adam Kay. This is a memoir of a junior doctor, that is Adam Kay himself. He has written his life story in this book. It is so pungent, it is so realistic, it is so real, and so weird, so strong, and it will definitely hurt you while reading it. It is such a great story, and I do think everyone needs to read this book no matter what. The next question is best sequel you read so far, and it is I have 2 for this also. The first one is Sita, Warrior of Mithila, which I have spoken already about in the first question, and the next one is City of Glass by Cassandra Clare. This is the 3rd book in the Mortal Instrument series. I have currently finished the first 5 books, and I must say this is my most favorite of all the 5 that I've read. I'm currently reading the 6th one. I don't know how it's going to end up. I don't know if it will become my most favorite of the series, but as of now, this is my most favorite sequel that I've read in 2020, and I'll highly suggest you to try this series because it is so good. It has a lot of genres mixed into it rather than just being a fantasy, and it is such a fun ride. You must try this because it is such a good book. Question number 3. New release you've not read yet but you definitely want to, and it is My Dark Vanessa by the author whose name I don't know. It is the debut book of the author, and I'm sure that this is going to be such an impactful book for me to read because it is about child abuse and how that can traumatize a person after becoming an adult. It has like 2 points of view of the same person while she was a kid in school and while she is in her 30s right now, and how she's relating what happened to her in that life and during that time in school, and how it is affecting her mental state in this age. This is a story which intrigues me the most, and I'll definitely try and read this by the end of this year. Actually, the audiobook is available, but I want a physical copy of this book because I need to read it rather than just listen to it. Question number 4. Most anticipated release for the second half of 2020. Actually, I've not read the second book in this trilogy, but I'm very much excited for the 3rd book because the first one, it took a lot of time for me to read, but it was such an excellent work of fantasy, and I'm speaking about The Empire of Gold by S.A. Chakraborty. The first book is City of Brass, which I've read already, and the next one is Kingdom of Copper, which I want to read. It is also available in audiobook format, but I want the physical book in order to read it. And the last one is The Empire of Gold. The instant in which the first book stopped, it was so tiring. It was such a cliffhanger. I want to read the second and third books as soon as I can. Question number 5. The biggest disappointment in this first half, and this is such a famous book, and I didn't expect that it'll bring my spirits so down, and it is The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. This book is like loved by many people out there. It is philosophical in every sense. I understand why people like it, but it disappointed me a lot because I went in with a lot of expectations, and it didn't like, how to say, the stakes were this high and it didn't even meet this much for me. My brother loves this book, but he was one who recommended me to try it, and I tried it, and I didn't like it to such a great extent, so it was a big disappointment for me. Question number 6, biggest surprise of 2020's first half, and it's obviously This Is Going to Hurt by Adam Kay. I thought that this was going to be just a normal contemporary book, and I just went into it without even knowing that it's a memoir. And that effect this book had on me, it is so strong and pungent, guys. How to say, this is the latest 5-star book in my shelf, and I listened to it in audio. The author himself has narrated it. It is such a great book. Everyone needs to read this book, according to me. And that's it. I'm going to try and read as much of Adam Kay's work as I can until he publishes books. Question number 7, favorite new author. Again, Adam Kay, who had written 2 books, which are This Is Going to Hurt and It Was the Night Shift Before Christmas. Both of these books were great. The first one especially, This Is Going to Hurt, is extraordinary, guys. I don't tire by saying this. Okay, everyone needs to read this book because it is such a good book, and it will definitely change your perception of how you see certain people in life to a great extent. Question number 8, newest fictional crush. Now, for this question, I don't usually get crushes and all just by reading a book or watching a series or anything. It must be to a great extent, and I had this crush on a single character when it came to the Mortal Instruments series, and I'm speaking about Isabel, and she's such a spunky character. She, if you ask me, she's my most favorite of all the Shadowhunter characters that I've read until now. Even in the 6th book, her character has done certain things which I didn't expect her to do, but she's doing great, guys. She's my newest fictional crush when it comes to 2020. Question number 9, newest favorite character. For this one also, I have 3 different answers from 3 different series or 3 different books, and all of them are fantasy. And the first one which I'm going to speak about is Zoya from King of Stars. I know that Zoya was going to have a great part in King of Stars, but the amount of character development that we got for Zoya, it had made me a big fan of Zoya right now. Her backstory is so different. Okay, I didn't expect that Zoya, being such a rigid person, had such a fragile backstory, and that's what made her what she is actually great. And we always get this right, looks are deceptive, and it is totally true when it comes to Zoya's case, because she is the most beautiful character that has been described in the whole Grishaverse until now. And the things that she has in her mind, they are totally different. Okay, her story is so horrible, so tragic, and despite being so beautiful, and how her life was before she became such a rigid person was so excellently explained by Leigh Bardugo in this book. So she has become one of my newest favorite characters. The next one is Vivenna from Brandon Sanderson's Warbreaker. In this book, we have the 2 sisters, of which Vivenna is the elder one. Though being trained, she comes out and tries to make this huge quest in order to rescue her sister, during which she endures a lot of pain. Being a princess, she's transformed into a beggar. She begs for food. She starves many nights. Those things, they don't falter her in any way. She is so much conscious of what she is to achieve. That was very great. I loved Yona's character very much for that. And the next most favorite character of mine is Magnus from the Mortal Instruments. We have a lot of serious speaking characters who are angry, happy, smiling, or just sadistic in every sense when it comes to Mortal Instruments series, but Magnus is the one who's like so mellow. Okay, when I see Magnus in a scene, he just lays things down in a proper way. He smooths things up, and his relationship with Alec, all those things have been very beautiful until now, if you ask me, and he has become one of my newest favorite characters. Number 10, book that made you cry. I'll not say that this book made me cry, but it made me go to the verge of crying, and it is also obviously this book is going to be more than half of the question's answer, and it is again, This Is Going to Hurt by Adam Kay. It was such a strong book, guys. You will not understand until you read it. I listened to it in audio and I'm waiting to get my hands on a physical copy of this book because it was such a great book. I want to physically read it again and again and again. I think I see myself rereading this in the future. Though it is going to be very tough for me to read, I will be reading this for sure because I'm such a sadist. I want to put myself into pain and enjoy the bliss that comes out of it. It is such a great book. Please, again I'm saying this, do read this book. Question number 11. A book that made you happy. That is also one of the favorite books, and it is The Mermaid and Mrs. Hancock by Imogen Hermes Gower. The main thing which made me happy a lot when reading this book is the place which I saw in which the story was taking place. It was not a cool place, it was not a nice place, it was a very barbaric, sorry, I cannot say barbaric, it was developed, yet there were a lot of conservative things that were going on throughout the background of the story, but I just loved this. While ending this book, I had that immense pleasure of having read a superb book, and that is what I expect when I read certain books. And this one gave me it in such a blissful way, and so this is one of the books which made me so happy in the first half of this year. 12. Favorite book to movie adaptation that you saw this year, and it is obviously It by Stephen King. I saw both the movies, part 1 as well as part 2 in this year only, and I liked the first part so much. The second part, I understand why it was such a flop, because the first part, it just set up the stakes at such a high level, and the second part, it is difficult to direct such film, guys, because we as readers, we perceive that scene which actually happens in the book in different ways. Okay, it is not understood by each and every person in the same way. In the same way, it might have been understood by in a different way by the film team, so it was not such a success, but I did like the film. It actually followed a lot of things from the book as such in the movie, and in that aspect it was such a good movie, if you ask me. Number 13. The most favorite review that you've written this year. I don't usually write reviews, I just speak of the books which I like to review, and it's obviously two of my favorite books, which are The Mermaid and Mrs. Hancock and This Is Going to Hurt, like the millionth time in this video. And I liked the books so much, so I just sat down and reviewed the books the next day after I finished reading them. Actually, I read these two books, finished reading these two books exactly the night before I filmed the reviews. So the thoughts of mine about stories were as much, they were as immaculate as they can be, and I love those two reviews of mine. They are not that much professional in any way, and they are not great in any way, but those are the two favorite reviews which I made in the first half of this year. Number 14. The most beautiful book you've bought so far this year, and it is obviously Northern Lights by Philip Pullman. This is the first book in the His Dark Materials trilogy. I already have the second and third books and the first book in the Book of Dust series. I didn't have the main book, which is the first book. I finished seeing the first season of the show. It was really good. It is so slow, but it is so good, and that has pumped me a lot in order to read this. Just look at this cover. It is so beautiful. It just conveys the actual things that are present within the story in a great way. And I also have an unboxing of this book. I'll try to link that also in the description, because it is such a casual video. I didn't even plan doing that, and after I saw this book, it was so much overwhelming for me. Last question, question number 15. The books that you need to read by the end of this year. For this, I have two books from my shelf, and they are both, one is the sequel and one is the standalone. The first one is the sequel, which is Arch Enemies by Marissa Meyer. It is the sequel to Renegades, which is the first book in a trilogy. This is the second book, and Supernova is the third book. It is not out in paperback yet. And the other book is Fire and Blood by George R. R. Martin, and I'm almost positive that I'll be at least starting this by the end of this month. I'll try to finish this by the end of June itself, but if I'm not able to finish, I'll at least have started reading this, and I'm sure that I would have read these two by the end of this year, and these are my most anticipated reads that I have to read by the end of this year. Okay, so those were my answers for the mid-year book freakout tag, and I'll also link the original video in the description below. If you liked or enjoyed watching this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and also share it to your friends. If you want to get more content from me, do subscribe to the channel, and without forgetting, do mention all of your favorite books that you've read in the first half of 2020 in the comments below, so that I can get some recommendations and also other people can. So without any further ado, let's just sign out. Thanks for watching and have a great rest of your day.